Addiction is a life sentence. That's where I parted ways a little bit with some of the really good work. Alcoholics Anonymous and Al Anon have really great work, but saying, hi, I'm Tanya, I'm an alcoholic. Hi, I'm Tanya, I'm a rageaholic. Hi, I'm Tanya, I am this. I am not that. I am me. I am a divine child of God. I have unique abilities. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That I struggle with some things, that I struggle with overeating, that I struggle with depression, that I struggle with rage, that I struggle with unkindness. Those are things I struggle with. They are not who I am. So that's one of the distinctions that I want to make, and a myth shift. It is not a life sentence. You are not this forever. In fact, we know that personality is not permanent. There's a great book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy about personality is not perfect, and it's a new psychological development in the last 10 years that you can shift who you are. You can make drastic changes. We see it in the medical field when somebody has had a brain injury. They shift completely. Well, what if you could do that on your own? What if you could find those unconscious commitments and change those for good? And this is what we as people who love addicts need to do, and what the addict needs to do. The other myth we're going to talk about is that the treatment is only effective if the addict is willing. Yes, they need to step in and they need to participate. But especially with substance disorder abuse, then the fog needs to clear. So at times it needs some downtime. That's why we hear stories about people who went to jail and said, never again, never again. And they got sober in jail and then they started their progress. We also see it with people who, for whatever reason, they've had to abstain and the fog begins to clear. So treatment can work even if the person is kind of so about what this is going to do for them. The next myth that we want to talk about is addiction is a sign of weakness. The only part of this that is correct is addiction is a sign. Addiction is a sign that something is not working for the good of that person. So if we define addiction as something that we choose to do, or something that has given us relief, or something that has become a habit, or something that is a symptom, all of those things would be good definitions of addiction. And one of the reasons why we do what we do, or continue to go back to it, even when it is beginning to cause us damage or it's beginning to cause us life-threatening issues, is we have a subconscious commitment to something, a subconscious commitment to not feeling discomfort at a party, at a social event, at work, a subconscious commitment to making sure that everybody feels okay. That's the people pleaser. And that may be some subconsciousness, but it's really about, I want to feel okay. So if you feel okay, I will feel okay. Those are all addictive signs. It's also a sign for a huge dopamine hit. Maybe we're feeling low and we don't want to feel that kind of discomfort. Or we don't. I had a person say to me, I had a breakup and I didn't know what else to do. So I went out and I numbed it with alcohol. Now, there are tons of other things to do, but when your brain is in this overexcited state, it's very hard to figure out the next thing to do. So addiction is a symptom. It is a sign. Is it a sign of weakness? No, it's a sign of pain. It's a sign of avoidance. It's a sign of, I can't handle what's going on. I don't have the skills. I've never been taught the skills to handle what is happening. It is a sign. As Bill Engvall used to say, here's your sign. So it's a very clear sign that something is amiss, and maybe has been for a long time. It can become a habit after that, which leads to an addiction in some theories of how this happens. The next myth we want to bust is it only affects certain people. in socioeconomics, in genetics, in how you were raised, behaviorally. It only affects certain people. That's ridiculous. If you can look at the schema of people who have had addictions, it's everywhere from the highest in the land to the lowest. If you are in a culture that's more normal, maybe, but then we've seen people break free from that and do magnificent things. We also see, our favorite movie stars who say, look, yes, I got into that culture, but I broke free and I decided to do other things because the consequences were so high, because I wanted to change my life. We can also look at the fact that, money, no money, it doesn't matter. Addiction is a sign that something is not in congruence with the human being, that there is a subconscious commitment to something that keeps them using. Because guess what? Drugs and alcohol work. Food works. There is a temporary relief factor. Now, the long term can be even more damaging, but we do it because it works. The abuse works. It's fast, effective, and efficient until it isn't. So we do all of narcissism. We do all of these things because they do work for the short term. So this affects anybody and everybody. When you figure out what works, you tend to do it over and over again. It's harder to refrain. It's harder not to go with what everybody else is doing. It's harder to work through your emotions and really deal with the hurt and the pain. And so as humans, we take the easier path. And you do have a choice on whether you take the easier path or not. Now, the final one is addiction is a choice. This one I really struggle with. I don't necessarily buy into the disease model. I don't buy into the choice model. I buy into it as I am hurting and I am figuring out a way to deal with that hurt. When I worked with the juvenile court system, I saw a lot of children who were behaving rationally in an irrational situation. When they couldn't get their needs met, when they couldn't get their basic identity needs met or food, clothing, shelter, they did what they had to do to make that happen. So when you have grown up in trauma, drama, abuse, then addiction probably feels like something that is going to save you. I've had a client to where that was all they knew. That was all that was in the household. It was acceptable. It was a cultural piece of their household. Was it really a choice for them? The choice would have been to reevaluate themselves and look at what was most important for themselves. As an adult, we have many more choices. As a child, we don't. So this choice piece, I would love comments on what you think about that. What you think about the disease model. As I talk about in the new course that I'm putting out, the disease model was something that the healthcare system could quantify. They could bill for it. They could say this is a disease. So it is a dis-ease, but to put it in a category of disease and to label you with it and say you will have this for the rest of your life, there are diabetics who have changed their diet, changed their lifestyle, meditated, done what they needed to do, and have shifted that. Now, I'm not saying that medical treatment is not important for some. I'm saying let's look at this a little differently. Let's look at what we can do within ourselves and in our connection. So if the shift is addiction, is because I am hiding from pain myself or others, and connection solves addiction, you as the loved one are the expert on what's going on in your family. You alone can make such powerful shifts that it shifts your whole family. Thanks for watching today. There's more over on Tanya Joya YouTube. There's a course coming out. Be sure and get on the email list. And we have the Sober on Purpose group. So I look forward to seeing you in all of those places. Please be sure, if you're watching it on YouTube, to smash the like. It really does help. And over here, love to hear your comments. Love to have you speak up and say, Tanya, you're wrong. I know it to be this. I am interested in what you have to say. Have a phenomenal rest of your day. Bye.